And Nigeria's Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, recently stressed the need for Nigeria to develop homegrown international African insurance conglomerates that are well capitalized to leverage the opportunities in the African continental free trade area and penetrate the market with insurance services for businesses and governments. So Steve Osho, co-managing partner at Commercial Partners, joins me now to discuss this. Steve, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today. Now, the African Continental Free Trade Area is said to have a 450 billion potential in income gains for the insurance industry. Now, some analysts say that Nigeria already has a leverage in terms of capitalization, the capital base of insurance companies here in Nigeria. But the question is, can Nigeria take the lead? What kind of conversations do we need to begin to have, or partnerships, to be able to take advantage of this bigger market?
Good afternoon, Esther. Thanks for having me today. I think the Vice President was actually very spot on his assessment of the opportunity around the AfCFTA for the insurance company in Nigeria. If you look at Africa as a whole, a country of over 1.3 billion and roughly producing about 2.6 trillion in terms of GDP. You look at the size in terms of population that contributes about 70% to the global world populations and barely contributes about 3% to the GDP of the world. I think it's high time we took advantage of the AfCFTA opportunities that actually provide for the rest of Africa in terms of coming together, and especially Nigeria, presumably to have the biggest or the largest GDP in Africa. I think it's high time we took advantage of that. And if you look at the way we've championed the regionalizations and the spreads of some of the banks in Nigeria who have taken some regional, opportunities in Africa and the rest of the world, I think it would bode well for insurance companies as well to take advantage of these opportunities that will come from the AfCFTA transactions, because we are talking about global trade that will cut across all the regions in Africa, all the countries in Africa. We are talking about large ticket transactions in terms of manufacturing, in terms of trade transactions that we would need insurance company to be able to, bankroll, and at the same time write some insurance for some of those tickets. And at the same time, if you look at the risk that will be involved, we've seen the risk involved in agricultural sector now through the flooding and the shift in the global warming and how that has impacted in agricultural products. There will be some sort of insurance that needs to step in, or insurance companies that need to step in to be able to cover some of those risks that will be associated with some of the transactions that will happen across Africa and across the border.
Now, one category of businesses that are set to or expected to significantly benefit from being in this bigger market are the micro, small, and medium enterprises. And analysts tell us that microfinance can be a good tool or microinsurance rather, can be a good tool for the insurance industry to use to penetrate or deepen penetration. Talk to us about that. How can are we doing well? Are we scoring good on microinsurance here in Nigeria if we're going to now go out into the bigger market to tap into other opportunities?
Well, I think in that space, you will agree with me that the MSME and SME will contribute significantly to the growth of the economy in any nation. And Nigeria is actually not an exception to that. If you look at how the insurance companies have actually contributed to that space in Nigeria, we will say maybe we still have a lot of rooms for improvement. And if you look at the scaling we're talking about in terms of actually having the cross-border transaction, across the rest of Africa. So we're talking about large ticket transaction, which for me, starts at a very good point where the NICOM is actually asking the insurance firm actually to recapitalize, even though the process is still a bit has dragged on for a long time. But I think looking at the opportunities that are bound in the AfCFTA markets going forward, and if Nigeria and the global economy and Africa needs to take advantage of the productions that actually will come through the SME and MSME through productions of some of their products or exporting some of their products to the world, then I think it's high time for us to actually try and scale up in terms of the opportunity. And that explains the reason why the vice president was talking about we need an homegrown insurance firm to actually launch into the world. So maybe at that point, in terms of the capitalization we're talking about, might not be able to break some of those transactions. But when we have conglomerate of some of these businesses coming together and putting the capitals together, then we're talking about, we're ready to muscle the opportunity in all the regional trades that will happen thereafter.
But in terms of that first move, to launch things, to set the ball rolling, I imagine NICOM should take the lead, and perhaps that could come through some modifications or formulations of some new policies. Analysts tell us that policy areas like public procurement, intellectual property rights, labor market regulations, etc., could be. But sometimes these things take time, and I don't know how long this process is going to take, but I guess the important thing is to start. But I'm not sure I've seen, are there any signs, do we know of any concrete measures that are being taken already in this regard on the part of the regulator?
Yeah, I think from the regulator point of view, they've started that process, although there was a bit of stalling in terms of some of the stakeholders taking them to court. But I think it's something that is imminent to happen in the long run. And at the end of the day, I think there's going to be some sort of resolution, maybe in terms of timing to market to where the regulators have actually, stipulated where they want the insurance company to recapitalize. Maybe there will be some level of modification to that. But in terms of whether it's something that is needed at this point, I think it's actually very necessary. And I think it's the right thing to do at this point. So from the regulator point of view, I think they're trying their best. And I think from even the capital operators, the insurance company themselves, a lot of them are actually recapitalized ahead of the deadline set by NICOM. And I think a lot of them are actually still talking to stakeholders, to investors who are looking at that space. And I think in the next few months, thereabout, we should have a big conglomerate of a lot of insurance companies coming together to be able to birth a lot of big transactions across the borders in Africa.
Now, we have just 1 minute left. How optimistic are you in terms of how Nigeria, or if Nigeria actually does have what it takes to lead in that area, and how you think we could perform when we do get things right?
In anything you actually talk about Nigeria, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's business, whether it's in cross-border transactions, whether it's in the economy, whether it's in education, or whatever it is, I think you can't write Nigeria off. So it means that we have the population, we have the demographics to actually do that. We have the resources, we have the both internal human resources and the natural resources to be able to take care of that. What we just need to do is just to put the right policies in place, and the enabling environment in terms of the structures, the policy, the structures that we need to place to enhance or to implement some of these projects and some of these things that we need to take place to take the lead in that area, because a lot of other countries are actually taking the lead in that space. The infrastructural development is one of those areas we have to look at. Policy in terms of cross-border trade is what we need to look at, and the enabling environment for some of these insurance companies and even banks, that will, bankroll some of those big ticket transactions. We need to look at that, and the technology to be able to facilitate some of those trades. Another thing we need to look at. But in the long run, and I think at large, I think Nigeria have the capacity and the capability, and we have the resources to be able to do that.
Okay.
Make it happen.
Thank you, Steve, for talking to us. We appreciate your time on the show. Steve Osho, co-managing partner at Commercial Partners.